in the Philippines, and they used to have competitions in Southeast Asia on texting. So they had to put their phone under the table, and they had to type messages, and it was for competition. They were sending texts.
I
Crazy.
would have been tough. I would have been tough.
You think you would have been a competitor?
I could have been a contender.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you're Matt Docchio. You're the Matt Docchio.
The
I think you're the Matt Docchio, man. One of the most interesting individuals that I know.
interesting is a good word.
How
I'll take interesting.
interesting because when you look at what do they call it, how broadened you are, you've done a lot of things. You've done a lot of things.
Yeah.
20-year career. Right, you did 20 or did you do 22?
No, I did 19.
19.
Yeah.
How many countries?
Oh, I don't know.
Never counted?
I don't know. I mean, shit. Most of them in South America, right?
Africa?
No.
I never made it to Africa either. But I haven't been to South America either.
Yeah, I don't want to go to Africa. I really have no ambition. The Black Mamba, I'm good, dude. I'll pass with that. You ever see that thing?
No, tell me about it.
Oh my god, I'm not even gonna tell you about it. I don't want to ruin your life. Black Mamba hunts people, dude. Hunts them. Only snake that can stand up and look you in your eye.
Now wait a minute. Let me get this straight.
It can stand up and look you in the eye. Like, motherfucker, I'm about to fuck you up.
That's horrible. So
The Black Mamba. Also, Kobe Bryant was a Black Mamba as well.
that he was.
God rest his soul.
Yes. Yeah, he was
I love Kobe.
phenomenal, right?
You know what's funny? I didn't like him at all. I never liked Kobe at all. And then when he passed away, you know, they more of his stuff and his story came out, and I got to learn more about him. I love him, man. I love him. He was like Jordan. He was exactly like Jordan. I mean, he literally, his work ethic, his tenacity, dude. He was legit, man. Definitely put him below LeBron now.
You know, my son Dylan he's always been a Lakers fan. He's been a Colby fan forever. So
Has he?
yeah, he's big. He was devastated when that happened. I mean, you know, a lot of people that really knew him or understood him and followed him, they were devastated, and for good reason. I didn't understand it either because I'd never followed him. I'm not a big basketball fan. I mean, I grew up with Jordan, and of course, you know, I remember those guys. I remember the Dream Team, but that was
Yeah. Once Jordan left, I didn't watch basketball anymore.
yeah, kind of ruined it for me.
But I wasn't say I must say I was devastated, but that hurt when he died. You know why it bothered me? Because his daughter was with him.
Yeah,
I think that's why I was kind of like, I can't imagine that. It was just a boom.
You remember that crash out here?
Oh yeah.
You were here for that, right?
Yep.
I was still in North Carolina at the time, but it comes up every so often. You know, that was the guys that dove that and did the cleanup. That's a pretty tough thing to get through, I would think. Having to go into to do that salvage dive. We know a lot of the guys that were on that.
That's tough.
I mean, I remember Z saying he had to throw every single thing away that he wore in the water. It was just.
I mean, the body is.
Yeah. It's things like that. You have to wonder. You know how we were talking last time, like they say that your mind will never forget, right? Like you might not be able to deal with that trauma at that time exactly. Yeah, maybe you're under fire or under duress, whatever that looks like. They say that your mind will never forget, and you're gonna have to deal with it at some point.
Yeah, it doesn't. Your mind doesn't forget.
Yeah,
it might they might bury it. You know, men are great at compartmentalizing things in boxes and stuff, right? And we might bury it under a million other boxes and not think about it, but eventually, something happens. Like that happens for me a lot. Like right there, you just talked about the bodies right there in the water. I immediately thought about something that I haven't thought about in 10 years. Give or take, I don't know exactly how long, but you know what I mean. Like a
Yeah.
memory of that's something like that in Afghanistan. It's like that's just buried forever until something brings it out. Just the thought of the bloated bodies and stuff. It took me back there. So I mean, I think we're good at shoving shit down deep, but I think that's one of our issues as well, is because we never deal with it.
Yeah, you remember we were talking that analogy of it's like we take all of our shit, right, all of our problems, and we throw it in the back seat, and we just continue throw it in the back seat, deal with it later. Eventually, that back seat fills up, and you hit that wall, and it's all coming forward at once, and it becomes intolerable in a lot of cases. Yeah, it's
Especially if there's spit bottles you're throwing back there. You're really gonna catch something.
yeah, touche.
Oh no, you're eventually it's gonna come, dude. Eventually it's gonna come, and then you add other things. You start. I think perspective when you get older, you start looking at things different, looking things that you thought was righteous or correct when you did it. You start getting older, you're like, fuck, man, it's probably just some dumb farmer walking across the field. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? So I think there's a lot of things that play into that. Um, burying, burrowing.
Burrowing.
Burrowing, I think, would be more tunneling.
I think that
You
is
might have to burrow to bury that memory. What's up?
burrow to bury.
You have to burrow
You'd have to
down
burrow down
to bury,
and then
and then bury it
bury.
when you burrow out. But yeah, I think we're good. I used to think I was great at this, man. Just push it on down, you know. But I think that's not healthy.
Do you remember? So I grew up in the 82nd, right? And I'm not going to say it was frowned upon going to sick call. You just knew you don't go to sick call. Like bottom line, like you go do PT, you do everything you're supposed to do, and that accountability that they had over us, right? It was they always knew where we were at, right? So we kind of started with that in our heads that it was you needed to avoid the med shed, right? It's like
Indoctrinated into that.
right. So I remember I would I would try to run by the aid station after PT. Like instead of going to Chow, I'd go to the aid station, ask him to, hey, can you just hook me up with IV or whatever it is I needed, and then get me right back. I'm really happy to see that that era has changed.
Yeah,
A lot
absolutely,
more people walking around bandaged up, injuries. It seems
absolutely.
like we're a lot more injury prone. Would that make sense that testosterone levels are lower and things like that? I don't remember people getting hurt all the time. Like,
I don't remember people drinking soy milk and almond milk and all this other crazy shit. I drink my milk with the red top on it with steroids in it. That's how I drink my milk. I never, right? I mean, who knows if it has anything to do with it, but we never experienced that. I don't remember kids breaking shit like that and being, always hurt. You're right. Maybe it's in the food.
yeah, just some of the things I've been thinking about, right? We're doing a lot better at going and getting taken care of, but there's somehow more
To it.
seems like younger people are taking things they're not as resilient as we were maybe. And it's hitting them harder.
Yeah.
Um, there's been some fatalities out on the beach already this year, right? Some of the guards and firefighters that have to deal with that. I mean, that's a hard thing for them to stomach, right? And it's these young guys. I don't know, man. It's
I knew this guy. He was the senior enlisted of the West Coast Coast Guard, the West Coast.
okay.
He was a senior enlisted, right? So he's like, I don't know what their rank is, but it'd be like the command sergeant major or whatever, right?
Sure, still E9, but
Yeah.
yeah, whatever the term is.
When I tell you, one of the nicest, most genuine guys I've ever met, right? I spent about a month with him, and we're both struggling from, we're both having issues, mental health issues, and this guy was the best dude. We're talking about great. You could tell this dude was a great NCO. You know what I mean? Like you could tell his boy, like he was just a good dude. But earlier in his career, he had the duty of basically identifying bodies, and that's what he had to do. He was always going to these scenes and stuff, and he'd have to like identify the bodies and the family and stuff like that. So I mean, it's like he's not under, there's no danger, there's no threat, there's no. I mean, you're in the United States of America. It's just that's what he had to do for 2 years, and it destroyed him because it's all he would think about. It's all he would think about was like the faces, the bodies. It's like we're not made for that. So, I mean, God bless him because he was working on it. He even said to me probably what was the most helpful and knowledgeable things with dealing with these type of issues. And it was just this is a wise guy dropping knowledge bombs, and he was just like, you know what, I'm not here. And he's telling this to the counselor, the shrink that's doing like a group session,
Right.
and he tells me, he said, you know what, he said, I would be ignorant if I think I'm gonna walk out of here cured, because someone was talking about, well, I'm never gonna get better. He's like, you're never gonna get better. He's like, you're never gonna get better. If you don't realize that now, you might as well just leave. He said, nobody's trying to get better. He said, I'm here trying to get this under control to a level that's manageable, that doesn't affect my life in such a way that my life's unmanageable. That made so much sense to me.
It does.
Because I remember at that point, I was in there trying to get back to the Matt Docchio, 19 years old, happy, right? Like I was happy, dude. I was a happy kid. I was happy, dude. I was. I liked everybody. Not everybody, but I liked most people. And but I was innocent. You know what I mean? Like I still have my innocence, and it's I was trying to get back to that. You know what I mean? I was in that it was in that mental health facility working to get back to that dude pre-military, and it was that guy that was like, you're wasting your time. This is you. You need to learn how to live life as this person that's sitting here right now, and get all this stuff down to a manageable level. And that just probably one of the biggest things that stuck with me.
Yeah, that's some phenomenal advice. It makes absolute sense.
It does.
You'll never go back to who you once were.
Yeah.
It's
And if people think that you're going to walk out of here and be that guy, they're ignorant, and they're having unrealistic expectations of you.
exactly.
That's what it's all about, is realistic expectations. Because I had that. He brought me back. He reeled me in. He was like, dude, you need to expect to be this person for the rest of your life with these problems that are always going to haunt you. But you got to get to a point where they don't make life unmanageable. That was pretty good. I wish I could remember his name. I wish I could, you know what I mean? I wish I could like, I'm bad at that, at staying in contact with people. I wish I could like find that dude, but it's a good guy.
Yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about was that accountability, right? And like when we talk about what Team Trek is about, and it's about that continued accountability of each other beyond your years in service, right? I mean, since the first formation I stood in at 30th AG, from counting opening parachutes before I exited the bird, right? Like accountability has always been that no fail mission that we know too well, right?
Yep.
And then here somehow we watch our brothers and sisters retire or leave the military,
That's it.
and there's no accountability whatsoever. It's always thrown out there as, oh, you know what, they're doing bigger and better things, and it's in more cases than not, I think it's the opposite, man. I think most people are struggling when they do separate, and they feel that disconnect.
It seems like everybody is too. Everyone. You know, it does. It seems like most of the guys that I know are all like lone wolves. Never were when they were in the in group, right?
Right.
All the boys, and it's like it's the weirdest thing. I don't get it. And we live in an area that we're still immersed in the environment, or immersed into the community of SF. It's very easy for us to go find SF guys or group, So, and we still don't do it, like, even though healing's in the group.
That's right.
I mean, I can say all the right things. So those who can't do, teach. That's what they say, right? That's Jack Black from School of Rock.
That is right. That is good old.
But it's true. I watched a guy the other day who was talking about, like, how come when we grow up, and it has nothing to do with the military, it was just a civilian guy, and he's like, how come when we get older, we don't have any more like bros? No? We don't have any more brothers anymore. So it's like all of a sudden, guys, it's not cool to hang out with your guys, or it's not a priority. He's like, women still go out, they go dance and they do women thing, they go shopping, right? He's like, how come it seems like guys don't do that anymore? Like, how come guys aren't with the bros doing stuff? And I was like, he's right.
I assume they still are. I don't know. I don't know where. I just figured, you know what? I'm not one of the good old boys.
They don't
Yeah,
invite us.
I didn't grow up at seventh group, so
No,
I figure you guys are probably all just trying to keep it real seventh group tight.
like, don't tell
Right. Right. Once I got out of the group chat, it was over. Like,
Ryan. Is it?
just started. But no,
No.
you're right. Even so when we were in Okie, right? So like I was there '05 to '08. Didn't matter what team you were on, what company you were in. We all hung out together. We had a great time. Families were all tight. Kids were tight.
It's great.
Everything was good. Got to Carson, it was a little more spread out. When I went to 10th group, you had people north up in Denver, South Denver, and I was all the way down in Pueblo. But we still made the effort, and we still would do team parties, get together, things like that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen really anything like that going on.
Here.
Yeah, I know. I know Keith. He says they get together pretty often and do stuff as your old crew. But
But it's not like it used to be back in the day.
what do you think changed about it?
My opinion.
Mm-hmm.
What I think it is I think I think it's a couple factors, man. I think one is the new buildings and the new layout of the companies and battalions. I think that was a big difference in the cohesiveness
Okay.
of the company. Because I mean, our old, I mean, I can only talk for seventh group and what we had, but at Bragg,
Yeah,
like our hallway at Bragg is like every team door was open.
that's right.
It was just like an office. We didn't have all these upstairs, downstairs lockers. You had like these little lockers built up on these steps, and then underneath, you had all your gear on these little rolling pieces of wood that like you would have to roll out the whole thing,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it was ghetto as shit, but it was close. You know what I mean? So like, oh, it really wasn't like six teams. It was more like a company,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that kind of forced everybody to be together. I guess that's the best way to say it. Forced you to be like a big family. You know, it wasn't just teams and individuals. It was the company. You know, I was an SF baby, dude. I remember when I showed up to the team, I was an E4. I didn't know shit. Like, I literally did not know shit. I didn't even know. I was a weapons guy. I didn't even know how to schedule a range. Never mind where the ranges were. I mean, dude, I tell you, no bullshit. It was a Friday evening. We just finished up at the range. Obviously, they all have their POVs out there because they're the SF guys,
Right.
except for dumbass Docchio that drove out with the team sergeant who was driving the or the big trucks, the big
LMTV.
LMTV,
Mm-hmm.
right? So whatever time it was, came and everyone was like, "We're out!" Right? They loaded up the truck. Everybody's gone. Docchio, bring the truck back. Download all the shit. Blah blah blah. We're out, right? I'm like, all right, Roger. Roger that, Sergeant. I didn't know how to start an LMTV.
You didn't have a license.
Oh, I had a license.
Oh, did you?
I had a license. I could have flew an F-16 fighting Falcon, dude. I had a license for everything, bro. Like, they just printed out. I literally was qualified to drive anything in the military, but I couldn't figure out how to start this vehicle. You know, I was out there for like 3 hours, dude.
It's when you look at the buttons on those LMTVs, nothing makes sense. You got this little coily looking button. You gotta push this switch over.
And I got old school. I don't have no internet on my phone. I can't Google it, right? Like we could now. But just a side story about how I didn't know anything. But so I come into the company, and it's what do? I go across the hall to you know their Bravo, right? Like, yo, can you help me out? Wants me to run a range. I don't even know how to do it. You know what I mean? And it was like a family. I'll never stand it, dude. It's like, I got you. Great dude.
That's right.
Taught me a lot. But like now,
if you're not on the same team, a lot of times they don't even share.
There's guys that are in companies together for years. They don't even know they're in the same company.
Yeah.
Like they don't even know it.
No, you're right. These new buildings, everything got locked. You know what I mean? Like, you used to be able to walk in the front door. I mean, our buildings in Okinawa, you know, called it the box. It was one building. We all worked in one building. You had 2 hallways. So our teams are across the hall from each other, and just like you said, we leaned on each other all the time.
All the time.
It was cohesive. It was great.
It was. That's the best way I can say it. You know how people describe like, oh, you know, you need that safe area, like your home. Your home should be safe, right? That safe area that you can go to and feel safe.
Yeah,
that's what work was like. Work was the safe zone. You know what I mean? Like work was like that home for you, which is sad, in a way that it's like that, but it's good in a way. You know, it's a double-edged sword. It's bad for the families, but it's good for the team. But it ain't like that anymore. And I think it's not just the buildings. That's just one aspect of it. I think also it's the culture. I think the culture is more individual now. It's more I instead of team.
A little more backstabbing going on, and just
yeah, you know, not in the NCO side. I don't think the backstabbing is too much, but I think it's just more individuals. Like I'm gonna be here for 3 years. What schools can I get to make me better? And I go do what my goal is. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Where when I was on 3-6, all of us. Once you were on the team for 3, 4 years, 5 years, Swick's like knocking on the door. You're fighting to stay on the team. You know what I mean? Like there's opportunities that come up, and you don't do it because you want to stay on the team because we got deployments coming up. Like this, it's always something, right? That you pass up to stay on the team. You pass up schools to stay on the team. So because we have deployment. Now it's like, you know what? It's like we were like Jordan with the Bulls. And now these kids are like LeBron, jumping around teams for championships and shit. I don't know why I'm not anti-LeBron tonight.
No, that was a great analogy, though.
But it is. We're old school. Like we were the team.
So talk to me about your book.
Ooh,
I want to hear about it.
That's new. That's new. A new endeavor. which I wasn't planned for. Um, yeah, so the last couple of weeks been tough. You know, I go through like depressions. You know, what I mean, like there's certain things in my life that when they happen, or when people in your life, people in my life do things sometimes that are hard for me to handle. You know, I get overwhelmed, and it's like, my coping is like isolation, right? Like I get depressed. I fall into a depression. But a positive of that, so this one for the last 2 weeks, I've just been locked away writing. I don't even know why I started writing, dude. I just started writing stories, like, stuff from the past, just putting it on paper, man. And then I started to kind of get the idea of, oh, man, I'm gonna write a book. Like, I'm putting a lot of shit on paper. I might as well do something with it. So I'm like formulating it and putting it chronologically and kind of coming up with a plan. And then I thought about what you're doing here with Team Trek, and I'm like, that would be a good story. That would be a good story, Not like, there's a million books, guys, that are like, oh, right, they're war stories,
Sure.
which is great. I mean, that's awesome. Good for them. I'm not judging anything. I think they're great because they let people know like what people do. I think they're awesome. But I don't want to do another war story. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that. I want to do something that's gonna like maybe get some help out of it or help somebody. So that's what I'm gonna do. So obviously the beginning is that's where I'm at right now, was just kind of broad stroking, my deployments and some traumas and stuff like that I've gone through that affected me the most, you know, that affected me the most. So those are in there. And I did a broad stroke of that portion of my life, basically the military, the deployments, and the things that I struggled with during those times. And the title of it is From the Battlefield to the War, right? So cause the way I saw it was, when I left the military and I left that battlefield and all those traumas and bullshit that I was carrying with me, I thought I was walking away. I thought I was like going into like the sunset, like
Bigger, better things.
bigger and better things. Contractor Docchio, man, I got no worries, right? No worries, no stress. This should be easy. Time with the kids, right? Greatness. But I didn't. You step out of the battlefield, and I stepped into a fucking war. You know what I mean? I would go back to that battlefield tomorrow if there was a job there, which I did. I mean, I retired and immediately ran back to Afghanistan. This is where I was for the first 3 years. Because that was my safe zone. The battlefield was safer than the war that was going on, that I didn't know was going on, at home. And not at home, just in general, the war, since when you leave the battlefield, that's when the war starts in your head. And you start having to face your issues. The battlefield is where I would run from and hide from my issues, if that makes sense.
100%. As long as you can continue to be engaged and working towards that mission accomplishment, you didn't have to worry about anything that was in the back seat. You can just move forward, and we'll deal with that another time.
And I didn't have to deal with it because I was in my comfort zone. Like Afghanistan, man, was like Doc la la.
It's the routine that you can get into. There's only so many things you can do. It's so well structured that we get really comfortable there. I loved being deployed.
It's happy, man. It's happiness. But yeah, so that's what it's about. That's what I'm about to start writing on now. Is now we transition to what 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 I dealt with post retirement. What I'm still dealing with. Obviously, I mean, my story started with I was coming out of a 2 week depression.
That's right.
Which is hard. It's hard. I mean, that's why I had to leave my last job. Is, dude, I can't. It got too much for me. But yeah, that's what it is. That's what it's called. And then I plan on going into like relationships and with family and stuff like that. and how they're affected from my actions or my issues. You know, hopefully somebody could see that and go maybe learn from it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult to get the point across when I try to explain to my wife I can only focus so much attention at a time on one thing. If there's anything going on over here, it pulls my attention away, and now I'm completely like flipped upside down. Like it happens really quick in this war. When I'm at work, everything's fine. No worries. Everything's good. It's just being back here and
It's a war. It's a war. I mean, it's a fucking war. And I think I'm gonna touch on that, and I'm not gonna touch on it. I'm gonna talk about it in that book. Is like dude, there's people are you're being attacked at so many angles, man. Not you. I'm saying just in general.
right.
The guy that retires the military, has got some mental health issues. Special forces guy, right? And he's got his own issues that he's dealing with. He You don't realize how vulnerable you are, how vulnerable we are to people. And people there's people that take advantage of us. And I really am gonna talk about it because I've never heard anybody talk about this before. But and I think it's something that's important. Is people use your mental health issues as weapons against you. And it's something it's fucked up. It's evil. It's an evil thing, and when loved ones do it, it's not right. It's really evil because when you have people that you trust, that are they gaslight you, and they know the issues that you have, and they know like what that they know, and they weaponize it. They turn it into a weapon to use or manipulate or control, and it's very effective. I mean, it's very effective. Um, so I think that's going to be kind of like towards the end. Um, I plan on bringing that into it, but yeah, I mean, I think I got off subject a little bit.
No, I think that's a really good point. I'd never really thought too much about. I mean, outside of like hospitalized patients, right? I mean, obviously, um, but the guys going home every night that are dealing with the similar issues. It's we were talking, last time you were here about more only gonna ask once, right? Generally speaking, like,
Mhm.
and I can think of I can think of more than one person that is taking his own life right there in front of somebody that was quote unquote a loved one, saying things like, "Yeah, you're not gonna do it," and it's just like you. Yeah, well, you
That's a per-
showed her,
that's a
but
perfect example, though.
it's not a.
I mean, that's I mean that's not using as a weapon, but that's a great example of have no idea or understanding of what that guy's dealing with, or what issues he has, or what's causing it, or and no idea what his triggers are, no idea what drives that. You know what I mean? And it's that's a good example of where loved ones or family members or anybody that deals with the people, they need to understand. They need to like get a good idea of what it is that's driving all of that. But the danger in that, the flip side to it, goes back to what I was talking about though, is when that loved one is putting the time and the effort and learning about, you know, your issues, right?
Mhm.
Learning about your issues and why you have them and what caused it, and You know, what does it cause you to do when you're triggered, or you know, like stuff like that. All doing all the mental health stuff, doing all the right things, red flags. How do we avoid it? Right, all this stuff. When that person is going through all making all that effort to do that, what happens when that person takes all that information and starts using it as a weapon against you? You know, to to manipulate or control or just hurt you. Knowing they do this is going to send you into you're going to be depressed, and your life becomes unmanageable, right? And talk about how what an irresponsible and dangerous thing to do with when I mean suicide's I think probably our biggest threat,
Absolutely.
right? To our peers that have retired, that's probably the biggest threat is isolate. It starts with depression, isolation, hopelessness. Start thinking people are better off without me, right? That type of mindset, and that's how it happens. Now you throw in a loved a trusted loved one that's playing those types of games, or I'm not even say games, because doing those types of doing those types of things, those evil things to him as well. That's fucking dangerous, man.
Yeah, 100% is.
So, but yeah, that's. I think I'm gonna go into pretty good detail on that in the towards the end of the book. I am.
You're a phenomenal writer. That's I've read a lot of your short novels. I'll call them, and you have a gift of being able to get into grave detail and really explain things. I'm looking forward to reading it. I can't. I'm excited for you, man. I mean, that's
I am
huge.
too. Yeah, I am too.
That's
Thank you.
huge. I mean, you're crushing it with hard AF wood designs.
Yeah, it's going well. It's going well. Well, it's starting to go well. It was tough first year. Tough first year, but I mean, any new business, is tough. You got to learn a lot of lessons learned. A lot of lessons learned. But I think we're doing good. Starting to get the name out there. This was like the last week's been a good week, positive week for us. So that's good. I think during my depressive manic state, right, a lot of good things come out of being depressed and isolated. You do things that you probably would never do. I don't know. So I was sitting there on my throne, and I'm where I get all my good thinking done, and I'm like, you know what? We need to get like the hard EF out there to the public, right? Like, how do you do that, right? And brainstorming, like, how are we gonna do this? I'm like, I need to get into like a Destin magazine, or like, right, like something that people are gonna read, or like people are gonna see it, right? Because I know my stuff's good. I know people love it when they see it in person, right? But how do we get like people that down on the beach and stuff? How do I get them to see what I'm doing? I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. So I gemmed up this long email, right? And I went on to just talk about like I attached the thank you letter from the Green Beret Foundation for donating the thing I made,
Hmm.
which got $650 at auction.
I saw that, and
What
it was really
what?
cool too.
It was beautiful. I'm not gonna lie, it was hard.
I was thinking I would look really good on top of the refrigerator right
Oh, I
there.
can make one for you, but that one took a little because that was the first. I was still learning. It was early on when
Right.
I started that, and a lot of mistakes, a lot of doing overs. That thing. See, we got 650 at auction. Probably should have got a lot more. There's just a lot into that. But it was good. So they sent me a beautiful letter with like pictures of it and stuff, thanking me for it. So I included that in the email. Just like a couple different things that I do. Like I donated the table right to Team Track, who's doing. I explained what this is all about. That's stuff I'm trying to do with the community and the Wounded Warrior and all that good stuff. And so I wrote this nice professional email, and then I include like the surfboards and all business side of it. And I sent it to 4 editors that I found out. I was able to find 4 editors of different magazines online. And I sent the emails to these 4 editors just out of the blue, like, hey, this is who I am and this is what I'm trying to do, right? Thinking nobody's even gonna open up that email. Never mind.
Right.
read it. And then read it and respond. Come on, man. I might as well play the lotto. Don't you know that like 2 days ago, the editor hit me up, wrote me back, was like, absolutely, we need to sit down next week and get that story out to the community. That's what he said.
It was beautiful.
I was like, I started to cry a little bit.
Yeah, that's right, man.
But it was nice, man. It was nice. It was nice. I'm happy.
No, I love that, man. That's really cool.
I'm happy.
I like this community around here. You know, it's it even though it's spread out a bit, you still get these. You still get a lot of good-hearted people out in here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of good people here. It's Niceville.
Niceville. There you go.
Or nice. It's Niceville.
I thought they were joking.
If you're an asshole and you live in Niceville, you're a real asshole.
I thought it was a joke the first time I heard the name of that town.
Niceville?
I was asking some of the 7th group guys that I was at SF Command with where I should live. They're like, Niceville's pretty cool. Fuck you, dude. You know, like, come on,
like,
man.
seriously.
Like, hook me up, bro. Yeah. For real. Like, where do I want to live?
Like, Niceville's pretty nice. Like, yeah, all right, dude. It is.
And then it felt really weird trying to write it like via text. Like, so nice. So when you say you're gonna start your book with a lot of the traumas from deployments, like, are you gonna start with like where you came up from, or like how do you see, because you started it already?
Well, I already wrote it.
Yeah.
It starts basically with me joining the military, and it gives a little bit of a background of where I was, where I was at in my life when I joined the military. I wasn't in a good place. I was in a trying time of my life. I was impressionable.
Crossroads.
Yes. Crossroads. I was involved with a lot of illegal activities that eventually they all went south. So I moved as far away from that trouble as possible. I moved to California. It was either Cali, it was either LA or Miami, because that's all I really knew at my age. Sure. Right? As far as away from New York. So I was like, let's do it. So I moved to LA. Actually, Cypress, just outside of LA.
Okay.
I really remember that Cypress College. It was right there. And I went out there. I was like, I was like 19, I think. I had like 40 grand, I think, in the bank. And I had my new caddy, brand new caddy, paid for.
Damn. Oh yeah. You were doing some.
I was a lifeguard.
Gotcha.
No, but yeah, I was doing bad stuff, and but that's what, after all said and done, and I moved out. That's what I had with me, and the plan was to go out to LA, start a new life, like get a job, make my dad happy. I actually had a guy that was sending my dad fake pay stubs for me every week to keep, so he wouldn't worry, right? Because I wasn't working in LA. I went to LA, and a week later, I was just as bad as I was out there. Right. And but that's that. But yeah, so I go into that story about how I joined, and then I start from there, just my military career. How the military really, it goes on to how the military saved me. I mean, that's what I need. I needed that regiment. I needed that structure. That's what I was missing. I was a good kid. Like my mom says, hey, you're a good guy, just a bad boy. That's what my mom says.
Which is a great way of putting it.
Great way of putting it. She's 100% right.
Because we're supposed to be. We're supposed to learn as we go, and we're supposed to be tough along the way, and pick up the street knowledge. Because that's how we're made. That's how we're built. So the majority of dudes up and down the hallways grew up in very similar fashions.
Most good SF guys are usually criminals that never got caught. Good SF guys. NCOs.
Hard to disagree with that.
Level 3s. The good ones. It's true, though. It's true. I remember they have that saying, like, oh, you need to be able to go into the lion's den. Like, that's a saying for, like, the level 3 type stuff. You need to be able to go inside the lion's den. I disagreed with that. Like, every time people say that, I'm like, dude, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I mean, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Because anybody can do that, but you get nothing from it. You need to live. You need to be able to go in there and live in the lion's den. That's why I tell them, like, fucking nerds can't do that. Nerds can't do that because you weren't a criminal. You don't understand it. I look at you. I know you're not. You're not.
No, you know what? They're still staying aware of the need for that criminal-esque mind, right? Did you see in the paper the other day? They want to add cyber to the SF game, like so they want a cyber dude like embedded in the teams, like
I think they're
18, whatever. I thought it was an 18 Echo, but no,
I think they're late in doing it.
Absolutely.
I think they're behind the what would you say? What is it saying?
Power curve.
Power curve.
Power curve. There you go.
We're finishing each other's sentences already.
They're
behind the power curve.
Crime. That's where crime happens now. If you didn't know, it's in the cyber realm.
Is it?
That's apparently that's the
Damn.
That's, or at least the wars anyway. I guess they're happening.
That's funny.
It's a little different.
I remember being in Afghanistan talking to somebody and saying that the next generation of SF guys aren't going to be like us, like all jacked and like rah rah, right? Not now. I'm saying I'm
just saying I'm sitting here like 200 pounds.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Like us back in the day,
right,
like that. Not us now. No, we're actually what they're going to look like cyber guys, right? Like, that's what it's going to be. That's what the next generation of SF is going to be. Is those because the wars are fought.
They're so much faster now
in the cyber field. Is that word? Did I just coin that word?
I think you did. Cyber fields.
Cyber fields, like battlefield.
Well,
cyber field.
Maybe that'll be like an addition to your book. Cyber fields.
From the battlefield and cyber field to the war.
In the cyber clover fields.
Cyber fields. Your mind's blown right now, isn't it?
Cyber fields, yeah, because it sounds too matrixy, but it probably exists. Like I don't know if you coined it or not. I don't want to put that out. Matter of fact, we should probably put out the disclaimer right now that we are not doctors, nor are we professionals or counselors.
You probably should do that.
We're just telling stories,
all personal opinions and stories.
Nothing you should.
This is how Matt Docchio thinks. That's all it is.
This is the dysfunctional mindset
of Matt Docchio.
Of GB's out to pasture.